Oh, they're wasting no time. Roy Halladay's already coming out to the mound. His teammates follow. He's getting set for his final regular season start here at Citizens Bank Park. He still has his sights set on 20 wins, but the first phase of the accomplishments for the Phillies have been achieved. Did you see the 2011 National League East banner that's flying here at Citizens Bank Park? Let's take a look at the Cardinals starting lineup. It's brought to you by Xfinity, only from Comcast. Leading it off at shortstop, Rafael Furcal. Albert Pujols, Nick Punto, the second baseman, bats second. Albert Pujols hits third, followed by Lance Berkman and Alan Craig. John Jay's in center field. He'll hit sixth. In the bottom third of Laird, Descalso, and Loesch. And there's Doc warming up on the mound, going after his 19th win. He has a 2.34 earned run average, and all across the board, there's nothing on that stat line that jumps out and you say, oh boy, I wish that was better.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it too. And he probably has to get used to that mound again. It's hard to believe he hasn't had a start here since August 16th. His last 5 starts, as you look at the Southwest Airlines scouting report on Roy Halladay with good numbers against the Cardinals, his last 5 games started have been on the road. So he will only have this start and then back on the road, as Tom said, for his final outing in the regular season. But that's kind of strange to see that in the course of a year where one of your big guys like this doesn't pitch. I know we've been on the road a lot, but that's ridiculous. And it's time now for our Nissan keys to tonight's game. Nice night for a ball game here at Citizens Bank Park. Well, Kyle Loesch, he's going to make you swing. This is a guy that gets hitters out fast, so be ready to swing the bats. And you know, Roy Halladay is kind of that way too. And as Tom mentioned, Roy is after number 19 tonight, and well, you know, he's still after that Cy Young award. He's never going to talk about those kind of things, but we are.
Well, Rafael Furcal is going to lead it off for the Cardinals. Furcal overall hitting .226 with 7 home runs, 26 runs batted in. He's hit in 6 straight. And he rips one down the right field line, make it 7 straight. A 1 hop off the wall. And Furcal's going to pull into second with a leadoff double. First batter of the game is hitting over .450 against Roy Halladay.
Unbelievable. Threw a cutter, it looked like, and it just didn't get inside on him. You know, they attacked Cole Hamels early here last night and got some runs off him. So, you know, that's a way to, a lot of teams like to go after him. That pitch is supposed to bite in, and it didn't. It was right down the middle, and Furcal swinging early, hit it hard.
So now the corners will play in, thinking that Nick Punto will try to sacrifice Furcal over to third. Had Punto swing it away. That gets away from Carlos Ruiz. And over to third goes Furcal, and that could be a pass ball.
Yeah, it sure could be. Nope, they're saying that you hear the home plate umpire, Paul Emmel, saying they heard something. They're saying, no, it went off his glove. We heard something.
Well, Charlie is going to head toward the stairs. He might come on up. It's a pass ball charged to Carlos Ruiz. Pete McCann, I think, is going to go down and take a look at it. Well, we'll let you look at it. It looks like he just missed it.
That's what they were saying. They heard something, and you heard the umpire said, yeah, it went off his glove. That's what you heard.
0-1 the count to Punto, and a swing and a miss. 0-2. Paul Emmel is behind the plate tonight. Rob Drake's over at first. Bruce Streckman's at second. And the crew chief, Gary Darling's around at third.
So they haven't shot an easy run here, do the Cardinals, because Phillies, of course, are going to play the infield back in the first inning.
Outside and low, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And they, you know, that sound they heard, they thought that was a ball tipping off the bat. And, you know, as they go down and look at it, they'll see it wasn't. It was off the glove.
Ground ball toward first. Claude has it, and he'll take it to the bag just ahead of Punto. And a run will score. It's the 12th run scored in the first inning this year against Halladay. Well, and it's 1-0 St. Louis.
That was a very alert play, too, Tom, by Ross Claude, because Halladay didn't cover. You know, he's looking up for help over there, and all of a sudden he realized he wasn't going to get it in time. And he beat Punto to the bag. There was a day when Nick Punto would have beaten that. See, Claude comes up, and now there's nobody there. Here comes Halladay, but he's late. He's not going to get there in time. And Claude does.
So 1-0 St. Louis. They jumped out to a 2-0 lead last night because of this guy, Albert Pujols. And Pujols takes a breaking ball for a strike. The Cardinals start play tonight 3.5 games behind the Braves for the wild card. And the Braves are in Florida tonight. Ground ball back to the box, knocked down by Halladay. 2 outs.
Imagine how much that ball's spinning when Albert Pujols hits it. And that's what happened with Roy Halladay right there. That thing hit his glove like a top, just spinning like crazy. He came right out of it.
So with 2 away, it'll bring Lance Berkman to the plate. Berkman's 9 for 22 on this road trip for the Cardinals. He's hit in 6 consecutive games and 30 home runs, 87 runs batted in. And the first pitch from Halladay. Fastball a little high, 1-0. Or excuse me, changeup. Don't usually see his changeup that high.
He doesn't want it that high.
In the air to right field. Towering shot. Pence can't see it. Doesn't matter. It's going into the seats. That's a long home run for Berkman. And it's 2-0 St. Louis.
I thought that was a home run when he hit it. And then Pence is looking up in the air like, where is it? And it was way into the stands. It's a high curveball. He threw a high changeup and they threw a high curveball. So right now, location not good with his pitches. Berkman had no trouble timing that one and got a lot of backspin on it, hit it well into the seats at right center field. That thing way back into the stands. And you know, these guys are really into it right now because they can smell a shot at postseason if they can keep playing well. When they go home, the teams they play are teams they can beat, and then they finish with Houston on the road. So you know, this was the big series for them here, to come in here and see if they could beat the Phillies some games.
And they've taken 2 of the first 3. Alan Craig lines one towards second, caught by Utley, and the side is retired. Only 11 pitches for Roy Halladay, but he allowed 2 runs, including 1 off the bat of Lance Berkman. We go to the bottom of the first. The Phillies are in a 2-0 hole. Oh, just like last night, the Phillies are down 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the first. Let's see what Charlie Manuel's lineup looks like for tonight. It's brought to you by Xfinity, only from Comcast. Leading it off at shortstop, Jimmy Rollins. Shane Victorino bats second. Chase Utley hits third, followed by Hunter Pence and Raul Ibanez. Placido Polanco hits 6th tonight. Ross Gload 7th. And the catchers Carlos Ruiz, followed by Roy Halladay. And they will face 32-year-old right-hander Kyle Loesch, who in 28 games this year has been pretty good, 13-8 with a 3.62 earned run average.
Guy's a good pitcher. You know, he'll keep his team in the game for the most part. He mixes his stuff up, keeps the ball down, he'll get his ground balls, and he doesn't throw a whole lot of pitches when he's pitching well. You have to, he'll have the hitters swinging the bat early. Here's our scouting report from Southwest Airlines on him, and put in there that he is a strike thrower. And, you know, there'll be early contact if he's pitching the game that he wants to pitch.
Last 4 appearances against the Phillies, his earned run average is 6.64. And he's behind Rollins 1-0. Rollins hits the 1-0 pitch to left field. And Lance Berkman is there. Oh, the last minute he reached up and had to corral it. Must be an odd sky tonight.
Yeah, because you saw where that ball went out to Hunter Pence. He didn't see it.
It gets darker here in Philadelphia. And with 1 out, here's Victorino. 3 for 11 on this homestand. Shane's hitting just a .194 here in September with 2 home runs. His average overall is at .289 with 17 home runs and 60 runs batted in. And he takes a sinker outside, 1 ball and no strikes. That's what Wheels is talking about. Loesch is ready to go.
Oh yeah, he's a quick worker.
On the hands, a looper out towards short, caught by Furcal.
He has a lot of pitches too. A fastball, if throws slider, will cut his fastball, sink it. Good curveball, changeup. So the guy has an excellent arsenal. And on nights when he is getting ahead of hitters and he has his stuff, he can be tough.
Pitched for the Phillies back in 2007. They acquired him from the Reds. He went 3-0 in 13 games for the Phillies. An earned run average of 4.72. And Chase Utley has something wrong with his helmet.
the ear flap on the proper side?
Yeah, it looked like it was. Maybe it was cracked.
Yeah.
Oh, he's wearing Brian Schneider's helmet.
Yeah, something's wrong with that helmet. That's why they put their numbers on them, obviously, so they can find their own helmet.
Utley 263 this year, 10 homers, 41 runs batted in. But it's 1 ball and no strikes to him. Phillies will keep an eye on what's going on out in Chicago, where the Brewers are playing the Cubs. Phillies' magic number to assure home field advantage is technically 2, or it is 2, but it's technically 1 because they hold the tiebreaker over the Brewers. And the most wins the Brewers can earn before the end of the year is 99. And if the Phillies win 1 more game, they'll be at 99, and they have the tiebreaker because they own the season series. And that's how Major League Baseball decides certain tiebreakers. They go head to head first. If it's tied there, then they go through a sequence of tie-breaking scenarios. Ground ball foul. It remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. After Loge pitched for the Phillies in 2007 and helped them to the first postseason since the '93 year, he signed with the Cardinals, and he's been there ever since. He won 15 games his first year with St. Louis, but combined to win just 10 the next 2 years. Utley smokes one. Center field. Jay on the run out toward the fence, makes the catch. A step from the wall. And then the side is retired in order. Phillies go down 1-2-3. We've played 1. On to the second here in Philadelphia. The Cardinals are up 2-0. 2-0 Cardinals. We go to the top of the second. It'll be John Jay, Gerald Laird, and Daniel Descalso against Roy Halladay. And Halladay serves a breaking ball in there for a strike. John Jay has had himself a heck of a month of September. He's hitting .389 here in September with 2 home runs. Little number up the first base line. Tough play for Ruiz. It was reminiscent of the final out of Roy Halladay's no-hitter in the postseason last year.
You get the same thing, except the bat wasn't in the way. And it wasn't Brandon Phillips going down the line, but it was. In fact, he wound up throwing from his knees. Here's a look at it. Remember that no-hitter that Tom saw. And I watched the bat goes into foul territory right away, but Carlos Ruiz picks it up, throws from his knees, gets it.
Gerald Laird's the hitter, and Laird takes a strike. Laird has just 1 at-bat on this road trip for the Cardinals, but he is 6 for 19 against Halladay in his career. Grounds it toward the middle. Rollins makes a nice play, slides casually and throws him out. He knew who was running, and he looked very comfortable going to that ball.
And he does that stuff on purpose for momentum. Here it is. Now look, see where the bat was. What a play that was by Carlos Ruiz. He had to get the ball away from the bat and then throw to first base for the no-hitter. Finish off the no-hitter. That got postseason off to a good start.
Oh, it sure did.
Well, these guys must think we are really wearing Halladay out tonight. They had a total of what, 3 earned runs off him in the other starts against him in 3 games.
Yeah, he allowed just 1 earned run in 6 innings earlier this year.
Yeah, 22 innings. And they come out and get a 2 spot on him in the first inning.
Fly ball, shallow right center. Utley is out there. He's calling everybody off, and it's another quick inning for Doc. He throws just 8 pitches here in the second, but as we go to the bottom of the second, he trails it 2-0 here in Philadelphia. Michael Vick suffered, as we now found out, a concussion But Matt Ryan, Philadelphia's own Matt Ryan, showed a lot of composure leading the Falcons down the field to win that ball game. Hunter Pence leads it off here in the second. And he swings at the first pitch. It's 0-1.
They were throwing him a lot of breaking balls last night with Carpenter, and he was pulling them to the left side of the diamond, and they should come right out and throw him an off-speed pitch there on the first one tonight.
Well, they should know him. His numbers this year are really good against the Cardinals. He's 20 for 58 against them.
Exactly. They should know him after all those years in the same division.
Pence batting cleanup today for Ryan Howard. Ryan will not be in the lineup for the next several days. Charlie Manuel said today that Ryan was supposed to receive a cortisone shot in that ailing ankle. And they're hoping that by the end of this week, or at least this weekend in New York, that he'll be able to start playing again.
Right. Perfect time to do it.
And a called strike 3. First strikeout for Loesch.
Figure they clinch obviously on Saturday, and now they're going to face 3 straight left-handers, 2 tomorrow in that doubleheader, and then Landon, another left-hander, will pitch on Wednesday. Good time to get some other guys some playing time. This is a fastball right down the middle. After all those breaking balls, he threw that little comeback sinking type fastball, and Loesch has a good one. And he will throw that to left-handed hitters and freeze them. He had that when he was here.
Well, here's Ibanez. His grand slam was certainly one of the bright spots in the game the Phillies clinched the other night. In fact, it essentially finished the Cardinals off that night.
It was kind of like when Mariano Duncan hit that slam that night in Pittsburgh. When the Phillies clinched in '93, that game it was a little bit close for a while, but as it went along, and then he hit one way out to left center field, and that put it away.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Ibanez. Ground ball, second base. During the 2011 season, Turkey Hill will contribute $100 for each Phillies victory and 5 cents for each carton of Phillies Grand Slam ice cream, sold to support the Phillies youth baseball and softball programs. Two outs. Placido Polanco, who owns a 5-game hitting streak and good numbers against Loesch. And he takes at the knees. It's 0-1. Mentioned earlier tonight during the open that it's already been a busy day in Major League Baseball, if only because the Red Sox have played the first of their day-night doubleheader against the Orioles in the American League and lost. And as they play game 2, and you see game 1, they lost 6-5. Marco Scutaro did have 3 hits in a losing cause, but as they get set to play game 2, and they're already in the first inning in game 2, and they're losing again.
3-0.
Their lead against the Rays in the wild card is just a game and a half.
Yeah, and the Yankees are just jumping way out on them in the division. They won today, and Mariano Rivera set all-time saves record. But there you go, 3-0. They have really struggled for 2 weeks.
Red Sox are 3-12 in their last 15.
That's a bad 2 weeks.
2-2 pitch to Polanco, hit back toward the middle, a base hit. Well, one of the big issues for the Red Sox, their team earned run average in September. This is updated after that game in which their record fell to 87-66, is 5.98. So the Rays, their pitching's been outstanding. So that's why they've been able to make up ground, and you know the Angels are there too.
Yep. Wasn't that long ago that baseball was lamenting the fact that for the first time in a long time they didn't have a race for the wild card. Well, we got one now.
Ground ball back towards second, knocked down by Punto, and everybody is safe. He was set to try to get the out at second. There's the 0-1 pitch. Hit in the air down the left field line, slicing out of play.
Do you like to watch shortstops?
Yeah, that's my thing. That's what I like to watch. Shortstop. I know I don't like too much like watch homers and those kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
I just like to watch the wet jams, you know.
Who's the guy that you watched when you were growing up? Who did you like the most to watch when you were growing up?
I have to say Marvis Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy.
He's still playing.
Mm-hmm. He's still playing.
Outside.
Your dad, friends and older friends probably told you about how good Dave Concepcion was too for Venezuela. Huh?
Yeah, Dave Concepcion was really good shortstop. I don't see those guys play too much like David Concepcion, Aparicio. I didn't see how they play. I grew up like watching on Marvis Hill, Rafael Foucault, Jimmy Rollins, Robbie Alomar, so that's the guy how I like it.
Now, when you go to winter ball this year to Venezuela, is there something specific you're going to work on? Some guys work on certain things. Are you going to try to work on something specific?
I don't think so. I'm just going to try to keep doing what I'm doing. Try to have more IB, you know, more experience. I think that's the thing I'm going to work, you know, in my offense, you know, like try to be working like every day. So see more pitches and try to get better.
How about running the bases, base running? How do you think that's an important part of your game?
Yeah, has to be. Have to be. I know my first thing is the defense, you know, and then I have to go to the offense, but the base running is important for everybody. I think that's what I think. That's why you get the runs, you know. So I work in everything, you know, like that too, and base running is really important for me.
Well, there's a high fastball that Ibanez swings through, and there's 2 outs now for Placido Polanco.
Yeah, there's Tom said it's a high fastball. Looked like it had to strike zone too. He just didn't get it.
So 2 outs. Freddie Galvis joining us up here in the booth. Freddie just 21 years old. Finished up this year in AA and AAA. You were in spring training, as Wheels mentioned. How good of an experience was that? How much did that help just to get a little taste of seeing what the big club was like?
It's really good, you know. You get confident when you're in spring training with those guys, you know, like playing and practicing, you know, especially with the coach. Like they know a lot, you know, so they teach you. They try to teach the young guys. So I try to learn more I can, you know. And then when you go to the season, you have that confidence, you know, that experience, and you can play like day one, you know. You can do it because you got experience already.
0-1 the count to Polanco. He singled his first time up and scored the only run for the Phillies. Swing and a miss. No balls at 2 strikes. Have you talked to guys about what the next step might be like? You know, what the toughest thing will be to do when you come to the major leagues eventually?
Yeah, I think my mother, my parents, he told me a lot about that. He was talking to me about that. He told me like, it's gonna be the same baseball, but you have to like stay focused more in the game, you know. It's like everything's in the mind, you know. Everybody can hit, everybody can run, but the guy, you know, has to think a lot, you know, about the game. You have to stay focused in the game. So he told me like that's the most important thing in this level, you know, big league, you know. Stay focused on the game.
Switch hitter. What are your natural side, right or left?
Right. Yeah.
So you had to learn to hit left-handed then?
Yeah. I started since I was like 14 years old.
It's nice you never see the ball coming around.
Little low, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Such an advantage though to switch it and not have that breaking ball come around you.
Yeah, that's the thing. But now you got the sinkers that will go away anyway.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good when you are a switch hitter. Every pitch should come like to you, you know.
Yeah.
1 ball, 2 strikes. The count to Polanco. And a swing and a miss. Back-to-back strikeouts for Kyle Loesch. The Phillies leave the bases loaded in a 3-1 ball game. Freddie, best of luck, buddy. We appreciate you coming on. Have a good offseason, all right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Freddie Galvis. Say it. Galvis.
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 Yeah, like that.
Yeah, we go to the 4th here at Citizens Bank Park. The Cardinals 3 and the Phillies 1. Talk to us today about how we can help guide you to the loan that's right for you. Well, top of the 4th, the Phillies certainly have had a couple of opportunities to score more against Kyle Loesch, but they trail at 3-1. It'll be John Jay Gerald Laird and Daniel Descalso against Halladay. And the first pitch is popped out to shortstop. 1 away. W. Mason has the brands you want at prices you'll love. Like Gary Matthews joins us up here in the booth. Sarge, you're part of the 200th consecutive regular season sellout here at Citizens Bank Park.
Feel real good about that. Fans have done an excellent job coming out and supporting their team.
Overall, counting the postseason, this is the 213th consecutive sellout. There's a strike, and it's 2-1 to Laird. The record for consecutive sellouts is owned by the Boston Red Sox. That keeps on going. Phillies have a long way to go to reach that number, but this has been one impressive run. The last non-sellout was July 6th, 2009. Now this place has taken on a personality all by itself. Ground ball right side. Glode has it on a nice hop. That's a nice play all the way around. 3-1 on the putout.
Yeah, the key to that play, Halladay getting over as soon as the ball's hit to the right side. We've seen that before where some of the pitchers having a difficult time getting over the first base. That ball hit to the right side, you have one job, and that's to get over to the bag there. You can always slow down if it's closer. See how he leads them? Right there, hits that bag, no problem.
So 2 quick outs, and here's Daniel Descalso, who popped to second his first time up. And a changeup for a strike. It's 0-1. Thought that was no, it's a curveball. Saw the velocity. I said that can't be a changeup, but it was up a little bit. That ball's ripped to first, off the glove of Glode. Utley's there, no chance to get Descalso. And we'll see how they score that. That was hit pretty hard. So they charge an error to Glode, his first of the year.
The ball was hit hard. Kind of fielded that there on the side. May get in front of that ball. You may can stop it, but had some top spin on it. See as he gets over there and it just eludes him. If he's in front of it a little bit more, maybe he's able to handle it.
Kyle Loesch, who doubled and scored the 3rd run for the Cardinals, takes a strike. It's 0-1. Swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes. Doesn't want to fool around at all with Loesch this time.
Now going to more breaking balls, end up hitting a fastball for the double.
And it remains 1 ball and 2 strikes. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, the Red Sox have some life. They have erased a 3-0 deficit. They lead it 5-3. John Lackey is pitching for the Red Sox tonight. Getting dangerously tight up in Boston.
Oh boy. And you start to hear those footsteps. You know the team's right behind you. Every play becomes magnified when you don't have a large lead.
Swing and a miss. Good curveball. So this time Loesch is down on strikes. No runs, no hits. 1 man left. There was 1 Phillies error. We played 3.5 here at Philadelphia. The Cardinals, well, they lead it 3-1 over the Phils. Bottom of the fourth here in Philadelphia. And it's 3-1 in favor of the Cardinals. Cardinals have a lot to play for. Phillies, well, they need to win one to clinch home field advantage. They'd still like to get as many wins as possible. Last night there was not a whole lot of life in the offense. Tonight there's a little bit more.
Yeah, usually after you win it that very next day, you're just, you know, completely out of gas, so to speak. But the fact is now, I mean, you have something to play for, and mostly pride right now to make sure that you're playing as hard as you can against the St. Louis Cardinals and any other team. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Well, the Cardinals certainly are taking a peek at the scoreboard. The Phillies fortunately don't have to do that. The Cardinals are looking up and seeing that the Marlins and Ricky Nolasco lead the Braves 2-0 in the fourth down in Florida. So if they wind up winning tonight, the Cardinals, and the Braves wind up losing, that wild card gets smaller and smaller.
Well, it sure does too, and big games for us later on. The last 3 games there in Atlanta, and I'm sure St. Louis is counting on those ball games. But the other situation, Phillies are getting ready to make sure that their staff is right where they want it. The pitchers are going to be in line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're worried about their own selves as opposed to worried about anybody else. You know, they're not trying to dictate who gets in, obviously.
Line drive for Glode into left field, a base hit. So he's aboard for the second time.
Yeah, that's good hitting. Like he hit a breaking ball, thinking it the other way.
And here comes Carlos Ruiz.
Very important for hitters to be hitting the ball and going into the series. Again, very difficult to turn it on and turn it off. Guys that aren't hitting usually don't hit.
The Lucky McDonald's Phillies home run jackpot contestant is Bob Branco of Philadelphia. If the Phillies hit a home run in tonight's ball game, then Robert will win $100. Two and one the count to Ruiz. Carlos had an RBI single the opposite way his first time up. Just his second hit in the series.
Lowe's doing a pretty good job mixing up the off-speed pitches. Got runners on base. He got away from the fastball and starting the hitters off and start throwing more breaking balls. Worked himself out of a tough situation. Bases loaded.
That's a tough pitch right there. 3-2. We're just happy that that young fellow is still awake for it. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Nobody out here in the bottom of the fourth.
Well, Loesch is one of those pitchers that you can come back on. Don't want him to get settled in and hitting the spots. Keep pressure on him by keeping men on base.
Glode goes. The pitch is lined to center field. Jay, though, is there to get it. And Ross was able to react quick enough to stop and then head back to first. Well, if you had tickets for Sunday, August 14th, make sure you've made a note because that game will be played tomorrow afternoon at 1:05. It's game number 62 on your ticket, so you should use those tickets for tomorrow's 1:05 day-night doubleheader, the first of the day-night doubleheader against the Washington Nationals. Again, look at your tickets. If it says game 1 or game 62, And you should use those for tomorrow afternoon's ball game here at Citizens Bank Park. Sacrifice is successful for Halladay. 3-4 on the putout. The man had 2 sacrifice bunts last year, and now he's among the league leaders in sacrifice bunts this year.
Takes a lot of pride in that department. Not only that, hitting as well. I mean, all the pitchers know how important it is to try and keep those runners in scoring position.
Rollins 0 for 2. You compare these 2 pitchers tonight, Sarge. Halladay hasn't thrown anywhere near the number of pitches that Loesch has at this point. Loesch is at 70 pitches. He has 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th.
And Loesch does try and nibble a little bit more than Halladay would.
Outside 2-1.
Good example of it right there. Usually this situation when you're winning, that pitcher will give you a fastball to hit. Loesch has been throwing a lot of off-speed pitches, change-ups, sliders.
Three balls, 1 strike to count to Rollins.
A little quick on that one. Another change up. Appeared to be a ball. A little bit inside.
Victorino waits on deck. Outside, ball 4. Victorino will indeed get a chance with 2 on. So in the 3rd, the Phillies left the bases loaded. In the 2nd, they left 2. Here in the 4th, they have 2 on and 2 outs. And as Victorino comes to the plate, we want to remind you, with Powerade Ion 4, focus, hustle, hydrate, and believe. Pretty good opportunity to get right back in this game.
Well, just want to chip away. Base hits, balls in the gap.
I can see what Victorino thought on that pitch, that a lot of the pitches Loesch has been throwing these last 2 batters have been just off the plate. That one looked like it was just off the plate again.
And he has. He's been nibbling, staying out of the heart of the plate.
1 ball, 1 strike to count to Victorino. Ground ball to first. Big hop for Albert Pujols. So the Phillies leave a couple more. They've left 7 through the first 4 as Victorino's retired by Albert Pujols. We've completed 4, and they've changed their face already. We go to the 5th. It's 3-1 Cards. Rafael Furcal shows bunt, takes the first pitch from Doc down and inside. It's 1-0. Halladay and the Phillies trail at 3-1.
Like he wanted to do one of those running slap type of bunts. He'll run up and try and slap that ball right into left field.
He did it the other night.
Yep.
I don't know how that works.
I would never even try and attempt that.
Look, he did it again. That time, though, it just dribbled foul.
Yeah, I think, though, when he does that, what he's doing, if it's in a certain location, he'll go on and swing the other way. This ball was a little bit out, and he was actually moving as he was attempting to try and bunt that ball.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Ground ball over the mound. This will be a tough play. Rollins charges. The only thing he could try to do is barehead it. I don't even know if he would have been able to get him anyway. That's an infield single for Furcal.
That's one of those do or die plays. You either do it or it ends up being a hit. Reason why Furcal can still run, getting up there. Maybe if he barehands and catches it clean, he does have a play. But, you know, again, that play, you either catch it or you don't. And that runner usually will be safe, especially the fast one.
Well, here's Nick Puto. Grounded out his first time up, walked in the third. Cardinals as a team have hit into 161 double plays this year. Puto bunts foul. It's 0-1. You know, the National League record is 168, so they're only 7 away from the record.
Wow.
They have a handful of guys. Albert Pujols, he's hit it to 29. Yadier Molina has hit it to 20. Matt Halladay has hit it to 21. Pujols has because he doesn't run well, but he also hits the ball so hard sometimes. Puto bunts again, back toward the mound. It'll be a sacrifice attempt, and Furcal goes to second. Well, let's take a look at our Mazda leaders. Phillies earned run average this year is now over 3 at 3.02. And if the season ended today, it would be the 4th best in franchise history since 1912. Vince Worley's a big part of that. So is Doc.
Wow.
Breaking ball to Pujols for a strike. Phillies earned run average, collective earned run average, is the lowest since the 1989 Dodgers. I don't think Doc's all that impressed with Paul Emmel right now, the home plate umpire.
He's squeezing him on some of the pitches that he's throwing, not giving him some of those low strikes that are on the corner.
Two balls, 2 strikes the count. He got Pujols looking on strikes his last time up.
Got him on a curveball that kind of backed up on him.
Fly ball, shallow right field. Pence is there. 2 outs.
Brian Kenny here for Jeep Studio Update. Atlanta leading the wild card by 3.5. Start of the night, taking on Florida. There's Mike Stanton. Crushes this off Mike Minor. 33rd of the year. It's a 1-0 ball game. Then in the third, there's number 34. Good piece of that as well. 2-0 on 2 home runs by Mike Stanton. Again, he's up to 34 on the year. 2-0, bottom of the 5th right now, guys.
Well, he's seeing the ball well. Home run, another base hit and an RBI. You know, it looks this year like he's in just terrific shape. I mean, before maybe a little chubby, He's lost all of that, and it shows in the way that he's swinging the bat. Better shape you in, the easier it is to hit inside pitches.
Well, he signs just a one-year deal with the Cardinals. It'll be interesting to see what he'll get if he doesn't re-sign with the Cardinals out on the open market.
He's put up pretty good numbers here this year.
Halliday's handled Craig in his first 2 at-bats. And he starts him off with a changeup for a strike on the inside corner. A little confusion set in for Alan Craig right now. Gave up on a changeup, gave up on a curve. Both were strikes.
Young players coming in the league. The one pitch they can hit is the fastball. The pitch they have a difficult time hitting is that one.
He went soft all 3 times, got 3 straight strikes, and works out of a jam here in the top of the 5th. So we move on to the bottom of the 5th. 3, 4, and 5 due up for the Phils as they trail it by 2. Bank Park, the ballpark offers a variety of unique spaces and on-site catering available year-round for many types of functions, both large and small. Take advantage of all the ballpark has to offer. Call 215-218-5100 or visit Phillies.com/special events. Bottom of the 5th. It's 3-1 St. Louis. Chase Utley will lead it off. It'll be Utley, Pence, and Ibanez. Chase flied out to center in the first. And the error he reached on was by Rafael Furcal his last time up. Sarge, when you played, would you have been labeled one of the meanest players in the game, you think, like Chase?
That's a good question. I don't think it would have been labeled as mean, and I don't think Chase is mean. I think it should have been where the hardest players that play hard.
I agree.
I mean, to say mean, it's a little tough. I don't think he's a mean player. He's a hard-nosed player, I would think.
So if he's labeled a mean player in this day and age, Pete Rose would be labeled a mean player.
No doubt about it. No question about it.
Over to second base, Puto takes the hop. 1 out. How about Larry Boa? Would he be labeled mean?
No, Larry would have been probably labeled feisty. You know, he's very feisty, lot of energy. Wasn't a mean player at all. Obviously not a dirty player at all. One of my better teammates for sure, Larry Boa. But no, it wouldn't be labeled as in being mean for me. No.
Hunter Pence, the hitter, and he chops one toward the hole. Rafael Furcal has trouble getting out of his glove, and Pence is safe at first.
Well, he's had problems with that glove on a couple of other occasions there. The ball hitting that glove, his glove looks a little bit kind of flimsy.
Well, with 1 out here at the bottom of the 5th, what we've come to find out is Billy, who's leaving today. This is his last day as one of our interns here, Billy Alessi. He's not mean.
Oh, not at all.
He needs dictionary.com from time to time to figure out certain words, but he's not mean.
It's been a pleasure to have him here this
Very
summer.
entertaining. Yeah, Billy just graduated from Quinnipiac up in Connecticut, and today's his last day. So, Billy, carry on, young man.
All righty.
Billy and Kate were our interns this year here in the Phillies television network, and they did a great job. Kept us entertained as the summer moved on. More so lately than any time else. Oh, Peloche catches that out of the air, and he's going to double up Hunter Pence.
Nothing you can do about that on a line drive. That just happens. Doesn't matter where you go.
So Kyle Loesch, a very good athlete, makes a fine play on this bullet right back to the box. And the Phillies are retired here in the fifth. 2011 National League East champions. They've been dominant on the mound and have been slamming at the plate when necessary. For a club record 5th straight season, the Phillies remain the team to beat in the East. And they did it in 150 games this year, faster than any team in franchise history. Cork popping never gets old. And it's brought to you by Independence Blue Cross. Now more than ever, we're here for you every step of the way. I think Hunter Pence scared the heck out of Wheels when he came running into the clubhouse the other night.
There was no one that was more happier than Hunter Pence, and he showed it in every single way. Oh, boy.
Wheels said, you should have seen him. He goes, not only when he came in, but then later on when he came in, he was jumping all over the place. John Jay leads it off here at the top of the 6th. It'll be Jay, Gerald Laird, Daniel Descalso against Roy Halladay. Ross Glode's been busy. Nice diving play. Halladay's there to cover one out.
Textbook as he gets over to first base. Not as an afterthought, but that's what you're supposed to do. Ball hit to the right side. Glode gets up, sets himself, leads him to the bag. Good play as he gets dirty there. Takes his time. There he is again, making sure that he catches the ball. Can't do anything until you catch it.
Well, he has an error tonight, but he's also made a couple pretty good plays. One out for Gerald Laird. He's 0 for 2. Swing and a miss. There's been a lot of debate about who's the Cy Young Award winner for 2011. Doc is no doubt in the conversation, along with Cliff Lee. Ian Kennedy, who is scheduled to pitch tonight for the Diamondbacks, is going after his 20th win.
Yep.
So he's in the conversation, but it's going to be difficult for any of the three to overtake Clayton Kershaw at this point. Although Doc, even though he's allowed 3 runs tonight, I mean, he's had some games this year where you can certainly put him even ahead of Kershaw. But Kershaw is leading in wins, ERA, and strikeouts, which is the pitcher's triple crown.
Yeah, well, if he wins another game, I mean, he might have the edge over some of the other pitchers. I mean, Kershaw's had an extremely good year under circumstances in Los Angeles that not favorable for really playing.
Well, there have only been 25 pitchers, Sarge, that have won the quote-unquote pitcher's triple crown. Most wins, lowest earned run average, highest strikeouts. Only 25.
Wow.
Swing and a miss. Another strikeout for Halladay. It's a 1-2-3-6 as Ruiz finishes off the strikeout by making the throw over to first. So Halladay's through the 6th. We go to the bottom of the 6th. The Phillies looking for a little offense down in Center City. And here at Citizens Bank Park, well, the weather, it's one of the best nights we've had in a little while.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not that cold, but they're looking for a little offense. Phillies are struggling right now offensively as Placido Polanco leads it off, and he takes a strike. Sarge, did you get your Viking helmet?
Everybody's having fun with their own favorite hats or caps.
Dollar Dog Night here at the ballpark, brought to you by the good folks from Hatfield.
You know, when you wear that, you're going to get some attention.
You think? Look at the guy next to him. Polanco's 1 for 2. He singled and scored in the 2nd. Struck out his last time up. Ready for call. Tonight at a very special Phillies clubhouse, Jimmy Rollins talks about his long tenure with the Phillies. All this and more on Phillies Clubhouse, presented by Ransom Cat, tonight at 11:30, right here on Comcast Sportsnet. Roy Halladay puppet, Chase Utley puppet. One of the great things you can get at the Majestic Clubhouse store. Glode sends one to the air to right center field. It's pretty well hit, and that's going to go to the wall. One hop off the top of the wall. And Glode has his second hit of the night. Even the puppets are happy about that.
Glode now starting to hit that ball pretty good. He's hit a couple of balls hard here tonight. That's when you ask guys to pinch hit. You got to let them in the game to get 4 at bats. It's looking pretty good. And what happens, you get your confidence once you get in there, get those 4 at bats, especially when you're getting a few hits.
Louise going to try to drive him home. He's got Doc in the on-deck circle. They're not going to pinch hit for him. Carlos did single home the only run for the Phillies earlier in the game. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Marlins now lead the Braves 4-1. Mike Stanton's hit 2 home runs. Could he hit 40 before the end of the year?
I tell you, that the Florida Marlins, even though the record doesn't show they've been playing very well, you can get into some trouble playing this club at this time of the year. They got some guys that can hurt you. And evident there of those 2 home runs. Well, he's a strong hitter. Be a big run to pick up if they're able to.
So it won the count to Ruiz.
Just off the plate. That's what I was talking about. Nibbling. That's what Kyle's been doing there most of the night. That's why that pitch count's up so high there. 93.
Ball's hit hard, but again, righted for call. So Glode's still at second.
Well, you can't guide it. All you can do is hit it hard.
Carlos is a little upset with himself right now. Halladay's 0 for 1. He sacrificed his last time up. And he chops it to the right side. Nick Punto waits on it. And the Phillies leave another one in scoring position. So no runs, 1 hit, 1 man left for the Phillies. 6 in the books. Doc will get himself ready to go back out on the mound. The Cardinals lead the Phillies 3-1.
Well, here's our Verizon Wireless game summary. Cardinals jumped out 2-0 in the first inning. Lance Berkman's knocked in a couple of runs tonight, including that home run that he hit in the first. He also has a 2-out base hit. They walked him last time he came up when they had a shot. Kyle Oshie's been really good here tonight. He's only given up 1 run. It's unearned. The Phillies have had a lot of base runners, same way they did last night. They're not hitting as many double plays as last night, but Loesch has made pitches and got out of jams.
Well, speaking of Kyle Loesch, he'll lead things off here in the top of the 7th against Roy Halladay. Got a swing and a miss. It's 0-1. His double to start the 3rd is one of the bigger hits in this game.
Yeah, gave him an extra run, and after the Phillies had cut it to 2-1, they manufactured the run, got him in, and that was back in the 3rd inning when they did that, and that was on that 2-out hit by Berkman.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Bills have left 8. They're 2 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Kind of the same story they had last night.
Yeah, they're playing a team right now that playing good baseball, although they made a bunch of mistakes and ain't gotten away with it when you think about it. But they've been winning, and you know, they look up there and they see Florida beating Atlanta 4-1. That gives them even more inspiration to hang in there and play this game right and win it tonight.
Chopper back toward the mound. Good play by Halladay. 1 out. Well, these lucky fans are tonight's Citizen 7. They will each receive a prize pack courtesy of Citizens Bank. Citizens Bank with the most 7-day branches in the Philadelphia area. To find a branch near you, visit citizensbank.com. That was one very intense young man right there.
Very happy. Very happy. Free stuff. Everybody loves free stuff.
Here's for call. He's been on base twice tonight.
He got a cutter his first time up that didn't move a whole lot and doubled to lead off the game, wound up scoring a run, and that time he got a curveball swinging first pitch.
Towering fly ball. Chase Utley's there.
Strange game for Roy Halladay. I mean, he's good ball strike ratio, 85 pitches, and out there losing by 2 runs in the 7th inning.
His earned run average, he came into this ballgame, his ERA was at 2.34. It's at 2.39 because of the 3 runs. But he has struck out 5. And he's allowed just 5 hits.
Oh yeah, they really haven't smoked him. But early in the game, he made some bad pitches in the 1st inning. And Cardinals credit, how many times do we talk about jumping on a good starting pitcher when you're the Phillies? Say, go get their guy. Well, they went and got the Phillies guy tonight in the 1st inning before he settled down. I think he would tell you he's had great command tonight. You know, there's nights when you look out there and you think he is almost unhittable. And tonight, you know, he's made some mistakes, and they've hurt him.
Well, coming up in the bottom of the 7th, the Phillies will have the top of the order. Rollins, Victorino, and Utley. Halladay's trying to get through the top of the 7th. He's retired 6 in a row. And the 2-2 pitch.
2 hook, and he really wanted. That's some pitch, though, to throw with Albert Pujols on deck. But with Halladay, it really doesn't matter. He can throw whatever he wants 2-2 because he could throw the same thing 3-2.
$45,048, and there's ball 4. Punto walks with 2 outs here in the 7th.
I mean about his command tonight. It's just not, you know, you have games when you watch him and he's just unbelievable. And tonight he's, you know, he's regular in some ways. You know, he's just missing with a lot of stuff. Missed with a 2-2 curveball, missed with a backdoor cutter there. And now here's Pujols.
Pujols is 0 for 3 tonight, 1 for 10 against Halladay in his career, and he hits it down the third base line, and it's going to head toward the corner. Punto can still run. He's on his way to third. Ibanez digs it out of the corner. Rollins picks up the cutoff throw. The throw to the plate, not in time. An RBI double for Pujols. It's 4-1 St. Louis.
And that's the point we're trying to make about with Nick Punto. With a 2-2 curveball and a 3-2 cutter, he walks him, and now you got to deal with Pujols. And that's a big run.
96 runs batted in now for Pujols on the year.
See what he starts him with here. That was a cutter, kind of flat and on the plate way too much, and he hooks it down the line. They're playing him off the line. He hooked it down the line. We'll walk Berkman again with a base open. And as Tom said, Nick Punto can still run a little bit. He used to really be fast. He's had a lot of leg injuries as his career has gone along, but with 2 outs, you know, it's not the easiest thing in the world to score in a double in the corner, in the left field corner from first base. You got to be able to move a little bit, and he can. Remember, this team right now is playing without Matt Holliday and doing a lot of good things here this weekend. They'll have him back.
They're just not sure when.
Right. If they could somehow win this wild card thing and get into postseason, they're going to have those guys 3, 4, 5 in the middle of their order and make them even better.
No balls and 1 strike to count to Allen Craig, 0 for 3. Ground ball softly hit to third, and Polanco wins the race to the third base bag to retire Albert Pujols. But Pujols' RBI double adds to the lead for the Cardinals. Jimmy Rollins will lead it off after we stretch here at Citizens Bank Park. Answer. Wheels, what Phillies Cardinals player won the National League Gold Glove in a combined 5 years in a row? Come on. Jimmy Rollins leads it off.
How about Scott Rowland?
How about, that was probably the easiest question you've had in a long time.
In a long time. But it's for the fans. We want to let the fans have an easy night, right? Because this is for the fans.
That is true.
It's not for me.
Log back on to Phillies.com to find out if you're the winner of a Phillies prize pack. And thanks for playing Dodge Stump the Fans.
I'm just honored to participate.
2-1 the count to Rollins.
That question is fun. I hope people enjoy it as much as we did.
Every once in a while we have to give you a feather in your cap. There's a spinner caught by Descalso. Thought maybe that was going to go over his head.
Especially since he's playing up a little bit, but he isn't up as much as some other third basemen are because Rollins doesn't bunt that much. And here it is. He said he little fly ball off the end of the bat, and it was spinning like crazy going out there. It's actually slicing away from. That's a nice play.
Well, here's Victorino. He's 1 for 3. Kyle Loesch is about to throw his 100th pitch of the night. Zubczynski is warming up in the pen for the Cardinals, a left-hander.
Well, Kyle Loesch has done very well here tonight. You know, he's been in the old bend don't break mode. Biggest inning was when they had the bases low and he got the back-to-back strikeouts.
Yeah, Ibanez and Polanco both went down on strikes.
He threw Raul fastball and he struck out Polanco on a couple changeups.
There's Zubczynski. Cardinals have already won the season series over the Phillies. They've won it 5 games to 3 coming into this one. 2-2 the count. National League wise, the Phillies have been like a buzzsaw going through these teams.
Well, this is the first time they've lost they haven't lost it, they can split it, but they haven't won a 4-game series this year.
Right. Victorino hits it in the air to right field. Alan Craig is there.
Bush has really done a good job of changing speeds, is what you expect from him, and sinking his fastball.
Let's go, Chase.
Well, 2 outs here at the bottom of the 7th. The other night we were trying to get prepared for the celebration, and we made sure that Flat Wheels was prepared just in case there'd be a splash of champagne, and he had to be prepared because Frank Kopenbarger was on the prowl. Listen to you say, what's wrong with you?
That's unbelievable. That was cold.
Greg Castriato seemed like he enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, he did nothing to stop it.
No, he really didn't.
I mean, he could have clipped him.
He wouldn't have done that.
No, not if he wants his hotel room next time he goes somewhere.
To the right side. Pujols surrounds it. It's a 3-1 putout. This was one of the more entertaining scenes that night. There was one guy that was ecstatic about the celebration. Look out, Wheels. Here comes Hunter Pence.
He was flying, wasn't he?
And by Jeep Brand. We don't just make SUVs. We make history. Well, Kyle Loesch has bent a little bit tonight, and he just hasn't been broken. He has some bullpen action, or had some bullpen action behind him. But as we go to the top of the 8th, they may let him pitch another inning. John Jay, Gerald Laird, and Daniel Descalso. A lot will depend on whether his spot comes up in the order. Although he swings the bat pretty well.
Yeah, he sure does. And Phillies are warming their bullpen up right now because, as Rich Doobie mentioned the other day, he's going to send his starters out there, but they're going to get to a point with pitch counts where that will be it. Because they don't have to pitch a lot of pitches now.
No, the strikeout for Halladay is 6th of the night. Yeah, as the week goes on, the outings may be even shorter. As Joe Savory and David Herndon both warm up.
They see another major league debut, like last night. Joe Savory.
What a year Savory's had. What a professional career so far he's had.
I was going to say, you talk about a guy. I mean, he talked about it that, you know, he's thinking about going home at times, and maybe this wasn't going to be his life after all.
Then he decided to hit. Then he was needed to pitch again. Rollins behind the bag, throws out Laird, 2 outs. So 2 away, and Descalso will bat. He's 0 for 3. Chase Utley to his left. So 107 pitches so far for Halladay through 8. He trails it 4-1. We go to the bottom of the 8th. The Phillies down by 3. We'll have Hunter Pence lead it off. Coors Light Freeze Can brought to you by Frostproof Coors Light. Wheels, did you wear your Viking helmet to the ballpark today?
Yeah. At least that's over.
Hunter Pence is the batter.
We had fun down there the other night. Those are always fun to be a part of. Never get tired of them, that's for sure.
I thought it was kind of an interesting celebration on the field before they went into the clubhouse. It was very composed.
Yeah. Well, they're happy they won the division, and they did a tremendous job to win it this early. But, you know, they've won divisions now. They've won 5, which is a tremendous feat. But, you know, they want more. This guy right here, this is all new to him. And they're playing a team right now that's trying to get where they got. And they're outplaying them.
2-2 the count to Pence.
Get it started. Here we go. Here we go, Hunter.
He's made a lot of pitches tonight. I don't mean number of pitches, but pitches when he's had to. And he almost made another one there on that 2-2. That just missed. This could be his last hitter.
Well, if it is, he gets a strikeout for the first out here in the 8th.
Well, he gets a strikeout, and you know, no, here comes Lewis. I kind of thought he just wanted him to pitch to Pence. Left-handed hitter on deck.
Well, there's the call to the pen. So Kyle Lohse goes 7 1/3 tonight. He's allowed 1 run. It was an unearned run way back in the 2nd. And he continues his hot pitching for the Cardinals. They have touted him as the possible comeback player of the year. And after the last couple of seasons, who knows? Maybe he will get that honor. His teammate Lance Berkman might have a say in that one. This is an AT&T call to the bullpen. See the ticket section at Phillies.com for details. Kyle Lohse goes 7 1/3 tonight. He allows an unearned run, 5 strikeouts. He scattered 7 hits along the way. His night is done. The bullpen needs to get 5 outs for him. This has been a problem at times for the Cardinals. Let's see if the Phillies can capitalize. Mark Zubczynski in his 23rd game with St. Louis. And his first pitch to Ibanez is low. It's 1-0.
They stabilized things a little bit. This guy has helped him since they got him from Toronto. Salas in the 8th, and now they have a closer, Jason Mott, who's been effective. But they have had a lot of blown saves. What, 24 blown saves this year?
Yeah, and you think about even if they cut that in half, they might be, I don't want to say walking away with the division, but they'd probably be in the lead in the division.
They know they would be.
1 ball and 1 strike to count to Ibanez.
Good breaking ball.
And he got him. Back-to-back strikeouts for Cardinals pitching. One by Lohse, the other one by Zubczynski, and there are 2 outs here in the 8th.
He threw a breaking ball before that locked him, and now he goes for the, the ball breaking ball, which all good pitchers try to do is throw a non-strike like that with 2 strikes and see if they can get a hitter to chase, and he chased.
There's Polanco is 1 for 3. Singleton scored in the 2nd, struck out, grounded out. Outside, 1 ball, no strikes. John Mayberry's out on deck for Ross Glode, with the left-hander up and pitching for the Cards.
No right-hander up in their bullpen either. Of course, there's no way Mayberry could be the tying run. Oh, there he is.
You say it with such disdain. It's one of your best friends. Frank Koppenbarger.
The stealth man. It's like he's nervous. He's got a chew working.
2-0 the count to Polanco. It's low. 3 balls and no strikes. I want you to know that he's watched the clip of your dousing over and over again.
I'm sure. Well, he evidently had it planned.
There's ball 4, and Polanco's aboard. A 2-out walk. And Mayberry will bat. On the Toyota Major League scoreboard, Atlanta has taken the lead over Florida. Dan Ugglas hit a home run against his former team. They're still threatening to the Braves. They have the bases loaded in the top of the 7th with 2 outs.
Boy, what a big game that is for them.
Yeah, because there's a very small margin of error for both the Cardinals and the Braves at this point.
Right. I mean, the Braves are in command, not command, but
they're in control of it.
Right. You know, they can lose it. The Cardinals have to have a lot of things go right.
Kind of the same way as the Rays in the American League, but there are a lot of things going right for the Rays right now.
And you know, you look at it when you're the team being chased like that, and you have to think, oh no. I mean, I can imagine what the Mets went through when the Phillies were after them, thinking, well, we're going to win a couple games, and they're going to lose a couple, and then all of a sudden teams get hot at the right time and cold at the wrong time, and you get passed.
Here's John Mayberry to pinch hit for Ross Glode. And he takes low, 1 ball and no strikes.
Bullpen is still dead quiet with all those pitchers out there. So he has a lot of faith in this lefty. Tony La Russa is really a hands-on guy.
And he's been that way from the time he took over the White Sox. Then the A's. 2-0 the count to Mayberry. 3-0.
He's a little bit like Bobby Cox, and you got to be a certain kind of guy to play in that clubhouse, or you're gone. See ya. Mayberry doing a good job trying to get the tying run to home plate. That's a big run they just picked up with 2 outs on them after the 2-out walk and then the double by Pujols, give them a 3-run lead.
Little cue shot to first and right at Albert Pujols. So Zubczynski gets out of the 8th. No runs, no hits, 1 man left for the Phillies. We've completed 8. We go to the 9th with the Cardinals on top 4-1. Tonight on Sports Night, get a full recap of this ball game between the Phils and the Cardinals, plus the latest on Michael Vick and the Eagles as they recover from a tough loss against the Falcons. Get all the news Philly fans need to know on Sports Night after Phillies postgame live only on Comcast Sportsnet. John Mayberry stays in the ball game to play first after pitch hitting for Ross Glode. David Herndon, meanwhile, is on to pitch for the Phillies. 42nd game for David, 1-3, a 3.54 earned run average. And he'll face Skip Schumacher, and then the top of the order for St. Louis. Roy Halladay tonight went 8 innings. He allowed 4 runs on 6 hits. He wound up walking 4.
2 intentional.
Yeah. And 6 strikeouts. So Schumacher, 288 hitter. Tomorrow, a day-night doubleheader against the Washington Nationals. First game is at 1:05. Second game is at 7:05. One of 4 games between the Phillies and the Nationals. And then Phillies hit the road one last time. 3 in New York, 3 in Atlanta. Little history today in baseball. Mariano Rivera became the all-time saves leader in baseball history with his 602nd save.
Something appropriate about that because he is the all-time relief pitcher.
1-2 the count to Schumacher.
You know, he is just defined the position when you think about it. What he's been able to do throughout the years with, as they say, 1 pitch, but variations of that cutter.
Well, and it's still in the low 90s. It's not as if it's stopped moving at all. I say that because, you know, he's in his early 40s.
Right. Guy started out, I remember him coming over to Clearwater as a relief, as a starting pitcher. That's what they thought he was going to be, a starting pitcher. Turned him into a bullpen guy. The rest is history. Big time history. Hall of Famer.
Down the left field line, Ibanez will give it a look, but it'll slice it into the crowd. When Trevor Hoffman reached 600 saves with the Brewers, they were doing everything they could to keep him in games.
Right.
Because he was getting hit so hard. It's not the case with Rivera.
No, he had Trevor Hoffman. Nothing to poo-poo his career. He had a tremendous career.
Back toward the box, off the glove of Herndon, right at Rollins. 1-6-3, one away.
Herndon just got that hand out of the way, it looked like.
Greg Amsting with a Jeep Studio update from South Florida. Here come the Braves. Chipper Jones, bases loaded. Former teammate Omar Infante boots it. Chipper, save. The Braves score 4 in the 7th, and now they have the lead 5-4 in the bottom of the frame. Wow. Let's get you back out to Philly.
Those 600 saves, that doesn't count all that postseason stuff he did.
Call has been on base twice tonight. Make it 3 times. Toward the alley in left center. Knocked down by Ibanez, but Call will pull into second with his second double of the evening. So an extra base hit, and Puto will be the batter.
He's given them a bona fide leadoff guy and a player at a very, very important position and a lot of experience.
He puts that little guard on his hand to protect that hand.
Well, he's had a lot of problems the last few years, and most of them been back problems.
Nick Puto has been in the mix tonight. He had an RBI in the first, scored a run in the 7th, sacrificed in the 5th.
And Nick's been in the middle of a lot of stuff tonight. Struggled a little bit defensively early in the game, but and has really helped him offensively.
That last point about Rivera is that he's not done either.
No.
You know, I was watching some of the highlights of today. I mean, he was hitting 92 with that cutter, and
freak of nature.
Absolutely.
He really is. More power to him. The guy's an incredible competitor. I mean, you're up there as a hitter and you know what's coming, you still can't hit him. He could have helped the bat industry more than any pitcher in history.
Even the World Series game that he lost to the Diamondbacks, it was a good pitch, and Luis Gonzalez just blooped it over the second base bag.
Yeah, they had the infield in. They had to have it in.
2-1 the count to Puto.
It's another situation. We got Punto up here, and you don't want to walk him with Albert Pujols sitting on deck. If you're Punto, if you ever knew you were going to get a fastball, you would think it'd be right now.
Three balls, 2 strikes the count. Got him. Almost looked like he fooled him.
Well, it was a fastball. It didn't look like it sunk the way it usually does. It was a high sinker is what it was, and probably out of the strike zone. He chased it.
Every time the Phillies retire the opposing team 1-2-3, Comcast will make a contribution to Phillies charities. Phillies baseball is brought to you by the Xfinity HD Triple Play, your complete lineup for digital TV, lightning fast internet, and home phone.
Because of what Berkman's been doing, they pitched the Pujols here with a base open and 2 outs.
Pujols is 1 for 4. He doubled home run in the 7th. Carlos and Herndon trying to get on the same page.
Cardinal fans are wondering right now if this guy going to be in their uniform next year.
He's going to be in their division.
Yeah.
A lot of talk about Chicago and the Cubs. Swing and a miss, 0-2. I can't imagine he's going to leave St. Louis. But he apparently has turned down a lot of money already.
Yeah.
0-2 the count to Pujols. Got him. 3 pitches, and Herndon just struck out Albert Pujols. No runs, 1 hit, 1 man left in scoring position for the Cardinals. One more chance for the Phillies on the heels of some pretty good pitching by David Herndon to take us to the bottom of the ninth. Final chance for the Phillies against the St. Louis Cardinals here in the bottom of the ninth. They trail at 4-1. And the Cardinals will bring in their closer, Jason Mott. Mott 4-2 with a 1.55 earned run average. This is his 74th ball game. Phillies got to him the other night for an unearned run. It turned out to be a blown save, his 4th of the year. But he is the closer for St. Louis. Cardinals have also brought on Adron Chambers to play left field for Lance Berkman. Skip Schumacher is also in the ball game. He's in right field. And Carlos Ruiz will lead it off. It'll be Ruiz, Brandon Moss, who's out in the on-deck circle, and then the top of the order. Carlos is 1 for 3. He has an RBI single. That came in his first at bat. And a fastball up high, 1 ball and no strikes. Cardinals have gone through one closer after another. And Mott is the latest one to close games. 2-0. Mott will bat 4th. Chambers will bat 5th in the Cardinals lineup. Two balls and 1 strike to count to Ruiz. Way outside, 3-1. After blowing the game the other night, and although it was an unearned run, it was a blown save for Mott. Look at the Phillies can get some base runners. Maybe they can creep into his head a little bit. Cardinals are going to get bullpen action up behind him, just in case. Line drive to left field. That's going to be in for a base hit. And it's going to go to the wall. Ruiz around first, heading to second. Chambers throw, offline. It's a leadoff double. And here comes Brandon Moss.
Well, it'd be nice if they could kick up a little fuss here in the 9th inning. You know, Mott has not been in these situations that much, where the games mean as much as they do right now for these guys. So see how he reacts.
Then Ruiz slides into second, safe and secure. Safe and secure with New York Life. So he'll catch his breath. Moss will dig in. Brandon Moss, who at one time was a big-time prospect for the Boston Red Sox, spent this year down at Lehigh Valley. And he takes inside and low, 1 ball and no strikes.
Yeah, he was with the Phillies in spring training, hit some home runs, and did have a tremendous season at AAA. Look at that.
23 home runs, 80 runs batted in. Charlie Manuel was asked today whether Moss has a chance to make the postseason roster, and he kind of hedged a little bit. A lot will depend on the number of pitchers the Phillies take, but he also said, you know, there have been guys that have been here all year that are vying for that spot. So he said that it'd be tough to put one of these guys on the roster if they haven't been here the whole season, but we'll see.
Yeah.
1 ball, 1 strike to count. Ground ball foul. It's 1-2. Swing and a miss. So 1 away. 96-mile-an-hour fastball by Mott.
Yeah, Mott has a big arm. He was a catcher at one time, and now a relief pitcher, and has to do a lot for them to be their closer. He just throws this right by him. This is just rear back fire, and he won the battle. You know, those catchers always, when they turn into pitchers, seem to throw right from their ear, just the way they do from behind the plate. A little more extension.
Rollins takes strike 1.
But they come right over the top.
We really haven't seen anything but a fastball from him in 2 nights.
I think he threw 1 breaking ball to Moss, but you're right. It's
yeah, that's right. The one he bounced over the dugout.
Right. It's fastball after fastball.
Line drive toward the alley in right center field. That'll get a run home. Rollins will get to at least second. Let's see what he does. He's around second, heading to third. The throw to third by Furcal, not in time. An RBI triple. Boy, it was good to see Jimmy Rollins turn it on as he was going to second. But it's nice to see the Phillies turn on the offense here at the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, he easily could have dropped anchor at second in scoring position down by 2 runs, but I think he wanted to see something for himself there, too. I really believe in this case Jimmy Rollins wanted to see if he could extend himself and show that he can go from home to third like this, the way he used to, and he makes that pretty easily.
And that is the 100th career triple for Jimmy Rollins. He's been locked at 99 for quite some time.
Yeah, like I was saying, I mean, it means nothing really for him to get to third base in that spot. There's that 100th triple. Maybe he wanted that too. I think as much as anything, he just wanted to do that again. It's been a while.
He looked good.
He did. We have not seen that. Now, if if that made it the tying run, then you know why he really wanted to get over there.
Dotel and Rhodes up and throwing in the pen for the Cardinals. Victorino's the batter. Out towards shortstop. That'll get a run home. An RBI for Victorino. It's a 1-run game with Chase Utley due up. Let's see what Tony La Russa does here. He has Rhodes warming up in the pen. I guess if the guy's your closer, you got to let him try to finish it off. Maybe not.
Nope. Maybe not. If a guy's your closer, he's your closer normally. But this guy has not done it that much. But maybe you got to find out something.
It's the Cardinals 4, the Phillies 3. 2 outs here at the bottom of the ninth.
Nope.
And here comes La Russa.
Boy, you talk about doing everything you can to win a game. Look at Mott's reaction. Like, come on, let me do this. I can do it. But I guess as a veteran manager like La Russa, you can't live with yourself if he were to throw a home run here.
So Arthur Rhodes is coming in. He's already signaled to the pen. That's it for Jason Mott. He's allowed 2 runs here in the inning. I would think that the closer's role is still up for grabs for the St. Louis Cardinals. Jason Mott was ready to go, and then his expression changed totally with Arthur Rhodes coming in. For the Cardinals, he just allowed 2 runs, and with 2 outs, Tony La Russa is going with Arthur Rhodes, the former Philly, to try to get the last out. He'll face Chase Utley and then Hunter Pence. 17th ball game for Rhodes. Left-handers are hitting 286 against him. Righties are hitting under 100. Utley's 0 for 4 tonight.
And it's one batter for Arthur Rhodes because they have Dotel for Pence.
Well, the Phillies have kicked up a little offensive fuss here in the bottom of the ninth. The outfielders are way deep. And the first pitch nearly hit Utley. It's 1-0.
Yeah, you're not going to have a ball like Jimmy Rollins just hit get through. See how they're out there trying to prevent an extra base hit. Let that tying run get in his scoring position. And they're going to put Pujols near the line at first, of course, on the pull side. But they are not going to put the third baseman on the line.
Utley pulls it right through the hole on the right side. Well, we may see another pitching change.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what you do. You know, you can't blame them. I mean, just said how they had Pujols over near the line, and they're going to take the line away and give the hole up, and Chase rips it right through the hole. Boy, what a bullpen situation these guys have had all year, right to the bitter end. Here it is. See where Albert is. He's not on the line, but he's playing him to pull. He's over towards the line. And the ball shoots through because Chase hit it right on the nose.
So that's going to be it for Arthur Rhodes. He faces one batter, gives up a hit. Octavio Dotel is coming into the ball game for the Cardinals. So Dotel is coming into a save situation against the right-hander Hunter Pence. So we've got another pitching change here at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies down by 1. The tying run is aboard. Tony La Russa's also made it interesting because he's run through his bullpen here in the ninth. It began with Jason Mott, his closer. Then Arthur Rhodes, now Octavio Dotel. And Tony La Russa has been with the Cardinals for 16 years. He has over 2,700 wins as a major league manager. So he knows a thing or two, Wheels, about what to do in these spots.
Well, and he's been through so much this year and gotten burned so many times. He's just trying to win this game. This is, you know, you say, well, did he just destroy Mott's confidence? I don't know. But he's got to win this game. They have to win almost every game if they hope to get into postseason play. He's going to try to do what he thinks he has to do.
And I guess if you're going to be a closer in the big leagues, you have to accept those kind of decisions. And,
yeah.
Well,
turn the page.
Let's see what Hunter Pence can do to turn the page on this ninth inning. The tying run is aboard.
That hit he got off Dotel was that great base running by Chase Utley the other night in the clincher.
Swing and a miss, 0-1.
That was a juggle. A little bit at shortstop going to second, and then up came Ibanez off Dotel and hit the slam.
Charlie could not talk enough about both of these guys, Pence and Utley, yesterday before the ball game about that particular play. He said it changed the complexion of the inning.
Sure. Gave him a big inning. Outfield's real deep again. We still have the outfielders, so they do not want to give up an extra base hit, and they have the third baseman right on the line, as you see there. So they'll give up another single here.
There goes Utley. I was wondering when Chase would take off. He had that base swiped. Nobody was coming over to cover.
No, they're not going to worry about him right now. They're holding their ground. At least they were then.
Although if he does get to second, he's in scoring position.
Sure. That's a risk they're taking, that they don't want to have guys moving around out there with a runner going and open up a spot to shoot a ball through.
1-2 the count to Hunter Pence. Utley doesn't go, and the pitch fouled away. That may have gone onto the concourse in the upper deck. That's how hard that ball was hit.
And you see what Dotel's doing. Every pitch is away from Hunter Pence. And not that he can't beat you the other way, because he can, but they're saying we are not pitching to his pull side right now if we can avoid it. I would think they'll slide out there again.
The 1-2 pitch. There goes Utley. Ground ball to third. Descalso has it. And the ball game is over. The Cardinals take 3 of 4 from the Phillies. And their quest to make it to the postseason this year is still alive. And Tony La Russa really managed his way through the bottom of the ninth inning. He used 3 different pitchers.
And we welcome all of you that are watching the action at Citizens Bank Park. The Phillies lose. They came back and made it interesting. 4-3 the final. Kyle Loesch was terrific through 7 1/3 as the Redbirds take 3 of 4 in Philly and stay alive in the NL wildcard race. Let's welcome inside Studio 3, Greg Amsinger, Harold Reynolds, Dan Plesac. Harold, what do you think? Cardinals won't go away.
Man, they won't. I had them done. They are in this thing. You know, it's amazing. You got to play 162. And that's the beauty of it.
To take 3 out of 4 against the Phillies in Philadelphia, it looked like the schedule was favoring the Braves. Redbirds, there's no dying the Redbirds.
They beat Roy Halladay, arguably the best pitcher in the National League. Now, they are chasing the Atlanta Braves, who are in South Florida, taking on Dan Uggla's old team, the Florida Marlins. Oh, my, Mike Stanton.
Oh, Harold, look where this goes.
Is it fair?
Oh, my
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Right over Paul Warfield. Holy.
Even Warfield wouldn't have caught that one from LaMonaco.
Oh, he wasn't done, guys. In the bottom of the third. Oh, my
mercy.
Mike Minor's going, are you kidding me? I just gave up 5 miles worth of home runs. Wow.
2 home runs.
Awesome.
As Stanton continues to show off. He's got 34 on the year, but here comes Jason Hayward.
You know, Stanton, what, 20 years old? 21 now? And Jason Hayward's only 21, 22. I mean, it reminds you of how young Hayward was after you got a chance to see that home run. And then Uggla.
How about Dan Uggla?
His name.
The deepest part of the ballpark.
He never hit a ball there when he played for the Marlins. He used to pull everything.
You're right. So in the 7th, he gets to start with a home run, and then Webb with a walk to Martin Prado with the base. Mike Stanton, 2 home runs. But again, the bullpen let this thing slip away. And if you're a fan of the Cardinals, this great win in Philadelphia doesn't mean much if the Braves hold on and get this victory. The Braves need to turn things around in a hurry to hold off the Cardinals, who are one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. Again, the Cardinals just took 3 of 4 from the Philadelphia Phillies.